Hi, welcome to our third podcast session. My name is Veronica, the host of this program, in which we are talking about 3D printing industry at the point of care with our guests who are the real experts in the branch. In the meantime, you can check also our website 3dpointofcare.com, where we post the latest news and advancements in the 3D printing and point of care industry. Now, let's move on to our third episode. Today, our guest is Beatriz Dominiquez Gonzales, who is currently working as the Global Hospital Market Manager at Materialise, a leading additive manufacturing company with 25 years of experience in the 3D printing for medical applications. Hi, Beatriz. It's an honor to have you with us today. Once again, thank you for participating in our podcast program. We know that you have impressive experience, especially in 3D printing and the point of care industry, and we would like to know more about you. However, can you tell us first about yourself and your career in the industry?
Hi, Veronica. First, thank you for having me speaking today here. I'm very delighted by it. About myself, I studied pharmacy in Madrid. I am Spanish by origin. Mm-hmm. And then I came to Belgium to do a PhD in biomedical sciences at KU Leuven. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was working in basic science, which of course is crucial, is essential, but I was missing a bit more of something that can be really applied immediately to improve the life of people. I've always been passionate about innovation, about how that can make the life of people better, and especially healthcare. Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to then go to Materialise. I was very interested in 3D technologies already, and of course it was a great opportunity in which I started as an academic market manager. Mm-hmm. And so that time gave me a great visibility of the most innovative application of 3D technologies. Mm-hmm. And now, as you said, I am the market manager for hospitals, and I work bringing the latest 3D technologies to hospitals to ultimately improve patient care.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Great. Thank you so much. It was a great introduction, and it was great to know you better. So now let's move on to our main questions. So let's start with, can you explain shortly the history of Materialise and the current state of the company? We know that you divided between Materialise Software, Materialise Medical, and Materialise Manufacturing. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, sure. So to go first into the first question, Materialise was founded in 1990 by Fried van Kraan, who is still today the CEO. Mm-hmm. And it all started as a personal bet in a way. So Fried was in his job, he got to visit the lab, and in that lab they got a 3D printer. And he immediately saw the potential of that technology. So he came back to his work and tried to convince his work of investing mm-hmm. in a 3D printer, and he was unsuccessful. But that actually is why we are here. He basically got involved friends, family, and a loan from the bank mm-hmm. to get the first 3D printer. And as soon as he started to work with it, he realized that there were a big gap in the softwares used to create these parts for 3D printers. So just as an anecdote, back then in those times in early 90s, mm-hmm. It took 2 to 3 months to make a print of a hip model by our current CTO, Bart van de Schoenen. Mm-hmm. 2 to 3 months of manual work he had to do. So there was obviously a gap in mm-hmm. there, and a way of making 3D printing more accessible for the clinical practice, and in general for other industries. We needed to work on the software. And that's how 2 years later, Materialise released the 2 software programs, which are still today shaping the industry standard and industrial and medical 3D printing. So that's in one side Mimics, which was the world's first software to turn CT image data into anatomical models, and also mm-hmm. Magix, that is for industrial purposes. After that, we have done the first anatomical models, as I would say, is in the early 90s. But in 1996, we already progressed to 3D printed guides. We also, the same year, launched virtual planning software. In 2011, we also brought hip implants into our portfolio and many other implants to come. In 2018, we had the first software in the world to receive FDA clearance for 3D printing anatomical models for diagnostic use. And just to make this story come to an end and to the current status, today there is more than 6 million patient scans analyzed with our medical software. There is more than 50,000 patients that are helped every year. And there is more than 400,000 patient-specific model guides and implants created to date, which I think is it was the numbers of how many patients had been helped thanks to this technology. It's beautiful to see the progress, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue with that question?
Yeah, I was going to answer your second part of it.
Okay, perfect.
So as you were mentioning, we have 3 branches, so medical software, Materialise software, medical, and manufacturing. As I was saying, in medical, we pioneered many medical applications in 3D printing, and I already gave an overview about it. In software, what we do is to provide companies with a platform of software tools to manage and control 3D printing processes. And with manufacturing, what we do is to make 3D printing available for everyone. So we bring 3D printing products to customers.
I see now. Thank you. So we also know that you're operating in different countries and locations. And how challenging is that? Specifically, how Materialise approach the regulatory challenges?
Well, that's a good question. That's
yes.
very challenging. So in this question, there is for us, for example, in the terms of the medical device operation, so the parts that we print, much of the regulation we follow are based on international standards, so in ISO regulation, and then that being international is easier to follow. When it comes to be more challenging is in terms of software regulation, which is very fragmented. Each country has their own way of regulating this. We have a very good view on point of care regulation in the US, in the European Union, mostly in the industrialized countries, in Australia and so on. But as you are saying, it's extremely challenging because of the differences per region. Now, Materialise, also by the history and by the pioneering in the field, has grown also with the regulations in a way, and also participate in many initiatives to try to make regulations clearer and easier. And for example, we are participating right now in the medical device single audit program that will serve with one audit in 5 countries, US, Canada, Brazil, Japan, and Australia. And this is just one example of efforts to make this regulation more clear and easier, so more people and more patients, and for 3D printing to be more accessible to everyone.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. So we are also focused on 3D printing at the point of care, and you are also a global hospital market manager. So our question is, can you tell us more about the relationship of Materialise and the hospitals? To what extent do you work or collaborate with them?
Yeah, so Materialise has a long historical relationship with hospitals. We were pioneers in bringing 3D printing applications to the clinical practice, and being the first in that gave us the opportunity to grow as a company and to grow our products with the needs of the clinics. So our products and our company and our services has always been adapted to the demand of the hospitals. Now, as 3D printing has become more accessible, with easier software to use, more reliable printers. We see hospitals bringing the technology in-house, which enables them to support more cases using 3D printing because they have more rapid turnaround times, and also they have greater awareness of the technology within the different clinical specialties. We basically assist hospitals in developing and implementing the strategy for 3D printing based on their vision and desired applications. So we basically help them with our knowledge and expertise in any stage of the 3D printing journey that they are. So we can advise them implementing a startup lab from scratch, enhancing what they already have, the hardware and software structure, to scale a multidisciplinary workflow and anywhere in between. A good example of that is our relationship with Mayo Clinic. So Mayo Clinic had their first 3D model printed in 2006 to help the team, a very large team, to do a very complex surgery to separate conjoined twins. And today, they are producing more than 6,000 models, and models for them in many cases is just a standard care. So we have been all the way with them, and we don't see ourselves as a mere provider of a software. Instead, we really collaborate together to improve patient care and make the most out of 3D technologies within the unique characteristic of each hospital.
I understand. Thank you so much. Like, it was a very interesting answer for this question, especially with Mayo Clinic. So also talking about point of care, we can also see that there's a dedicated session on Materialise about it. Can you elaborate more on that? Like, what kind of products and services do you specifically provide for 3D printing at the point of care?
Yeah, so Materialise aims to make the world a better and a healthier place, and that's why we have a dedicated. We are very motivated for 3D 3D printing at the point of care, and it's really ingrained in the Materialise strategy because we really aim to bring 3D printing to a routine clinical practice. In terms of what kind of products, well, we have a broad portfolio of software products, and one of our software was, we are one of the only providers of FDA clear software for 3D printing models for diagnostic use. We offer different softwares to bring images to 3D models, design and print, surgical guides, surgical planning, perform, of course, research in engineering. We also have softwares for communication of digital 3D models between the clinical team and with patients. Of course, we also have the patient-specific implants. But aside from the products itself, what I think is more important that we provide for 3D printing at the point of care is our expertise. After all, Materialise has decades of experience and understanding of the 3D printing process. And that also comes with a large network of users and of industry partners. So I think that part is really crucial. And the support we offer, of course, because we have a dedicated team of application engineers that are there just a phone call away if any doubt arises to our customers.
I see. Thank you. I understand. Also, like, as an expert in the industry, what do you consider to be the biggest challenges or challenge ahead of 3D printing medical devices at the point of care? And what could be a solution for that?
Yeah, this is also a very interesting question. In my opinion, the biggest challenge is regulation, reimbursement mostly as the biggest challenge I would place. And that is because in order for 3D printing to be more current, more implemented in the clinical practice of every hospital. We spoke about Mayo Clinic, but not every hospital has the resources of Mayo Clinic, and still they have patients that should be treated with the best care, with the best healthcare available, right? And in order for that to happen, there is a big barrier, which is the reimbursement. As soon as the hospitals will be reimbursed, I believe that we will have a bigger, a much larger implementation of the technology. A solution for that, well, of course, I don't have the magic answer for this, but for sure, a starting point is to gather data to support the future reimbursement and guide the standards and develop guide standards. So to put an example that this, because this is already happening in the US. So in the US right now, the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology, they are currently busy with a 3D printing clinical trial, clinical data registry, in which they are collecting data to understand the clinical benefits and the appropriate use of 3D printing. And this is absolutely necessary to start having the conversation of why this should be reimbursed. So we have also evidence of time saved in the OR because of using anatomical models and an economical value of savings of 3D printing because of less time in the OR. But we also need this clinical evidence that actually we have a general acceptance of it being better, but we need this peer-reviewed literature that demonstrate the value. And registries like the one of RSNA and ACR, they will supply this data to kind of benchmark the value of 3D printing in each application.
Yes, that's
which of course is the starting point when we want to talk to governments and so on of why this should be reimbursed. Their major concern is always the patient care, of course.
Yes, that's for sure. Thank you. We know that Materialise is also one of the biggest companies always providing the great statistics and valuable information about the industry. So what do you think is the current market trend for 3D printing and the point of care? Is it growing? And if yes, how fast is the market developing? Can you answer that?
Yeah, sure. I can give you my point of view on it for sure. Yeah, we for sure see a greater adoption of 3D printing in hospitals and clinics. It's still growing at a rapid pace. The technology is more accessible. The benefits is further appreciated both by physicians and patients, and therefore more hospitals choose to invest in 3D printing infrastructure to have a personalized healthcare. One piece of data that supports this higher implementation is, for example, the articles that we can find in PubMed that reference 3D printing. In 2009, we only have 200 articles. In 2019, there were more than 3,000. So it is clear that the implementation is continuing. In terms of the trends, your first question that you asked, I think we can, of course, the big one of 2020 is COVID-19. Yes. Yeah, it's impossible to skip that one, I guess. Yeah, what we have seen during this very dramatic crisis is that there has been a shortage of critical safety and life supporting equipment. And hospitals that had already implemented 3D labs, they have created they have very creative minds coming with solutions to repurpose their 3D printing labs to help in the crisis. And so in that way, we have seen, I think that the awareness and the value of 3D printing has led an increase of awareness, and not only in between the medical community, but suddenly it was very common to see 3D printing parts in media and seeing how how general public is also more aware of it, which again is fascinating to see. And it's also fascinating to see how 3D printing can help to in dramatic situations like this crisis.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of other trends that we are seeing in the 3D printing at the point of care is right now there is, for example, there is more integration of the 3D printing in the clinical workflow, and again that will enable more hospitals to implement 3D printing, and the ones that already have it to do more cases, because there is a widespread adoption of the new DICON encapsulated STL standard, which will enable 3D printing files to be archived in the hospital PACS and be associated with the patient's medical records. That makes everything way easier for the hospital. And this, for example, this new DICOM standard is available in our latest version of Mimics. I'm going to comment on two more trends that I think are relevant right now. One of them is the growth of the use of extended reality. So we are seeing more and more in the clinics augmented and virtual reality technologies. Initially, it has been more as a visualization and training help, but we are starting to see also applications of support of procedural planning and even intraoperative guidance. So I think we will see more and more of virtual reality and augmented reality in the clinic, which sounds to me also as a very interesting time to be in this industry. And the last I wanted to mention that for the Europeans that are hearing us is probably a must, is the new European medical device regulation that was postponed until 2021, but is still out there. And that, in a way, more regulations is making the life of the hospitals a little bit more complicated because they need to work in a compliant way. Yes. And I think this is also where working with a partner with a lot of experience in the field takes a lot of value, because we can help them. We have many hospitals. We have hundreds of hospitals that we have implemented 3D printing. So we have the experience to make this also in a compliant way, and we can help with this. As in the US, the FDA continues to support dialogue with the stakeholders to modify and make appropriate guidance for safetiness and effectiveness of the 3D printing at the point of care.
Yes, I see. Thank you. That was like a long answer for this question, so thank you so much. And we also heard that your company turned 30 this year. And can you shortly sum up? Yes, that's a big thing. Can you shortly sum up like accomplishments you made?
Yes, sure. Well, actually, I did many of them already during the one of the questions, right? I mean, I think, I can come back with it, but basically getting things like getting the first software FDA approved in the market, also having all our implants and so on. But just not to repeat too much, I think what is more important is the amount of patients that we are helping. These 6 million scans and more than 50,000 patients helped every year. That means a lot, really a lot to us. In terms of other industries, we also have Magix, which is it enabled an entire industry to be productive in the same way that Mimics did it in the medical industry. So our manufacturing unit also brought a lot of new customers to 3D printing because it allowed the technology to help new people by transforming parts of the industry. We had examples as Unico, which is using a lot of Materialise knowledge on personalization of eyewear industry, but we can name dozens of industries benefit by it. Ski boots, personalized ski boots, And then also less sexy things like optimizing supply chains, are making new parts of production lines that are also important. In the terms of medical, it's clear that from the very first hip model that we printed, that was segmented manually, and it took over 2 months to get finished, to right now the bioresorbable tracheal splints that we are doing, and that that is allowing surgeries that otherwise would be very complex. It would bring a lot of much more complications. I think that the way seeing the history, the 30-year celebration is a very important one to us.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Beatriz. That was my last question, and I think it's the end of our session. It was great to know you better, and once again, thank you for being our guest today. We hope
thank
to
you
have
very much, Veronica.
Yes, thank you. It was a great opportunity that you can join us, and we hope that again you can also join in the other program and episodes we will make in the future. And we also want to wish you a lot of good luck in your future career and developments.
So thank you very much, Veronica.
Yes, thank you to our listeners. Thank you for listening our podcast show. If you like it, visit our website 3dpointofcare.com and stay tuned for the next sessions. You can also leave us comments, subscribe to our newsletter, read our latest articles, and let us know what would you like us to hear about in the next episodes. Have a nice day and bye.